What would you do if your intelligence could make you a millionaire or lead you straight to ruin? A group of students discovers that math isn't just for passing exams, but for beating the most ruthless system in Las Vegas. This is the story of 21 Blackjack. An MIT math professor has a peculiar way of detecting geniuses. When he finds one, he subjects them to a deceptively simple game. He draws 3 doors on the blackboard, one of which hides a prize. After choosing a door, the professor removes an incorrect option and offers the student the chance to change their choice. When he asks Ben if he wants to change, he answers yes without hesitation. This certainty disconcerts the professor, who suspects Ben might be trying to deceive him. However, Ben calmly explains that his decision is purely mathematical. Initially, the probability of winning was 33.3%, but by changing after removing an incorrect door, it increases to 66.7%. Satisfied, the professor acknowledges that Ben possesses precisely the ability he was looking for, to set aside emotions and rely solely on numbers. That same night, Ben is invited to an exclusive math club, where other students, led by Professor Mickey, are studying how to make money playing blackjack in Las Vegas. Although the game seems simple, it actually demands constant calculations about the probability of the remaining cards, as well as absolute emotional control. Ben meets both requirements, but to everyone's surprise, he rejects the offer. The reason is clear. Ben has been accepted to Harvard Medical School, but the $300,000 tuition is unattainable. Gambling doesn't fit with the education he's received, and his only hope is a scholarship that's nearly impossible to obtain. Despite his brilliant academic record, he lacks a special story that would distinguish him from dozens of other applicants. Raised by a humble mother and living a modest life, Ben begins to feel that, despite his talent, he's worthless. The ridicule of his classmates and the general indifference reinforce this feeling, especially when even Jill, the girl he likes, seems unattainable. However, an unexpected encounter changes everything. Jill assures him that, with his intelligence, he could make a lot of money in Las Vegas. Before leaving, he utters a phrase that shakes Ben to his core: "The best thing about Las Vegas is that you can be whoever you want." This idea awakens in him the desire to abandon his humdrum life and try something different. After much thought, Ben returns to the club. There he learns that card counting is simpler than he imagined. Low cards add up, neutral cards don't affect the count, and high cards subtract. Thus, it's possible to know when the odds are in the player's favor. The group organizes itself into observers and high rollers, using signals and codes to communicate without arousing suspicion. Although memorizing the signals isn't difficult for Ben, the real challenge is maintaining concentration under pressure and always making the optimal decision. Before traveling, the professor organizes a simulation, and Ben makes it clear that he will only play until he has enough money for his tuition. Finally, the first night at the casino arrives. Upon seeing the agreed-upon signal, Ben sits down at the table and, guided by his calculations, begins to win. Before long, his precise decisions attract a group of spectators, without anyone suspecting that it all stems from a simple yet powerful equation. However, at that very moment, someone covers his head with a sack and drags him into a room. When it's removed, Ben is speechless. Standing before him are the professor and his 4 classmates. In reality, it was all a mandatory test to see if he could count cards under extreme pressure. By passing it, Ben is officially accepted onto the team, which means only one thing: Las Vegas. Before leaving, the professor makes one thing very clear. They don't play, they execute an algorithm. They don't bet on hunches, but on a pre-calculated system. The next day they travel, and to Ben's surprise, the professor even takes it upon himself to solve his university essay for him. For the first time, Ben understands that even academic perfection can take shortcuts, and this revelation begins to change his worldview. Upon arriving in Las Vegas, Ben is dazzled by the lights, the luxury hotels, and the atmosphere he's never experienced before. Once settled in, the professor assigns them false identities and clarifies the profit split. He keeps half, and the rest is divided among the 5 students. Then the action begins. At the blackjack table, Ben is tense, focused on each card. On his first big play, he splits a pair of 8s and doubles down, relying on the high count. Just as he predicted, the big cards appear, the dealer busts, and Ben wins. From then on, it's all smooth sailing. The chips pile up, the tension melts away, and his accuracy surprises even the veterans. By the end of the night, he's won $16,000 and, more importantly, a confidence he's never had before. That confidence is reflected outside the casino. In a bar bar, Ben approaches Jill for the first time to help her fend off some persistent men. They talk, they get closer, and although Ben is embarrassed, mistaking a clarification for a romantic confession, something has changed. In Las Vegas, he's no longer the invisible student. As the weeks go by, Ben is completely transformed. In a month, he wins over $100,000. He lives a life of luxury hotels, high stakes, and endless nights. However, danger is silently growing. The group always plays at the same casino, the only one that doesn't yet use facial recognition. Its manager, Cole, a veteran gambler, has already set his sights on Ben. He knows Ben isn't cheating, but he understands that someone capable of winning so much is a threat. Meanwhile, the professor is aware that time is running out. He knows that the casino will soon modernize its system as well, but he decides not to warn the students. He prefers to squeeze every last drop out of each remaining day. The 5 young people, oblivious to everything, continue to immerse themselves in a life of excess. He has the money, the prestige, and a growing relationship with Jill. But this success creates tension. Fisher, displaced as the group's leader, starts drinking and causing trouble. One night, after a fight that almost ends in tragedy, the professor expels him without hesitation. No one is sorry. That same night, Jill invites Ben to her room. For the first time, Ben feels that he has achieved everything he previously only observed from afar. From then on, his way of dressing, speaking, and, above all, thinking changes. However, this change comes at a price. When he arrives late to a science competition meeting and discovers that his mistake will delay the project for weeks, Ben barely flinches. His friends confront him, accusing him of losing focus. Ben is silent for a moment, and then he smiles. Without realizing it, the disciplined genius had begun to transform into someone entirely different. Ben stood up, leaned his bicycle against the wall, and declared coldly that he no longer cared about this so-called science competition. A rage burned within him that would soon be reflected at the betting table. That night, Ben was no longer the imperturbable calculator he once was. He began impulsively doubling down, driven by emotion rather than numbers. Kiana signaled for him to fold, but Ben ignored her. Instead, he pushed all his chips into the center before the cards were even dealt. Jill tried to stop him, but Ben reacted with irritation. The result was inevitable. The dealer rolled 21 and Ben lost everything. In a single stroke, $200,000 vanished. Desperate, Ben went to apologize to Professor Mickey, claiming he'd lost control. However, the professor was adamant. This wasn't a friendship, it was business. Ben had to make up the lost money. The young man refused. The money was his Harvard tuition. Mickey replied coldly, making money and completing a task were two different things. After threatening him, the professor left. It was then that Ben proposed something unthinkable, expelling the professor from the team. He argued that they were taking all the risks while Mickey kept half the winnings without putting himself at risk. To Ben's surprise, the others agreed. Only Jill tried to warn him, but she ended up giving in. Without the professor, the group made even more money, unaware that Mickey was watching them from the shadows. Secretly, the professor betrayed them to the casino. Cole, the manager, caught Ben at the table, tied him to a chair, and brutally beat him, warning him never to return. Terrified, Ben left the casino the next day, convinced it was all over. However, upon arriving at his dorm room, he received a warning. He wouldn't meet the graduation requirements. Entering, he discovered his room had been ransacked and his hidden cash was gone. Mickey had left him with nothing. Later in class, Ben confronted the professor using a story about academic plagiarism. Mickey responded with a veiled lesson. Mistakes can be forgiven if one knows how to repent. Ben understood the message. First, he apologized to Jill, and then he attended the ceremony where his former friends won first place. He felt no envy, only emptiness. However, just when he seemed ready to return to his old life, Ben made a final decision, to go back to Professor Mickey. He proposed one last score before the casino implemented facial recognition. This time they would both act like high rollers. Disguised, Ben as an old bearded man and Mickey as a cowboy, they returned to Las Vegas. The final play was a perfect madcap affair. The chips piled up, the bets grew, and the tension was palpable. But just when victory seemed assured, Cole and his crew stormed in. Without wasting a second, Ben and the professor gathered the chips and made a quick getaway. The final bet had begun. They ran toward the slot machine area, using the rows of machines as cover to block the guards' view, then slipped out a back door that led to the main lobby. However, their pursuers quickly surrounded them. Seeing the situation deteriorating, Professor Mickey told Ben to hand over the bag of chips. The group agreed to split up and regroup later at the club. With the chips in hand, the professor chose the shortest escape escape route. He got into the prearranged car and urged the driver to leave immediately, without waiting for the students who were staying behind. Finally relaxing, he thought he had won. But when he opened the bag, his smile froze. Inside were nothing but chocolate chips. Only then did he realize he had been outsmarted. In fact, Ben and Jill had prepared 2 identical bags beforehand and swapped them during the escape. The professor let out a bitter laugh, already plotting how he would assert his superiority when they met again. However, at that precise moment, the car curtain opened. Seated across from him was the head of security, who led him toward Cole. Cole revealed the truth. He and Mickey were old acquaintances. Years ago, Mickey had caused massive losses at Cole's casino the very night Cole left town to attend his father's funeral. When Cole returned, he found himself unemployed. Since then, he had been searching for Mickey all over Las Vegas. Cole turned to Ben and declared that his career in the gambling world was over. His face was already on the casino's database. Even so, Cole offered him one last deal, one last chance to win big. In return, Ben had to hand over Mickey. Ben agreed and led the professor into the trap, successfully retrieving the real bag of chips. But things didn't end there. In the parking lot, Cole stopped them once more. He coldly asserted that this profession had no retirement plan. With facial recognition systems everywhere, no casino would ever hire people like them again. Cole demanded the bag and told Ben to disappear. Ben refused to accept such an end. The bag was his, that was the deal, and he desperately needed the money for tuition. Cole laughed and slowly unbuttoned his coat, revealing the pistol tucked into his waistband. Ben had no choice. Reluctantly and angrily, he handed over the bag. But would someone who excelled at calculation really trust Cole so easily? Of course not. Ben turned and went back to the casino. Inside, his 2 close friends were still playing and winning. After all, they were MIT fellows too. What seemed like an open retreat was, in reality, a covert advance. Ben's maneuver was flawless. This time, however, the money wasn't needed. Later, Ben told the Harvard interviewer everything. In his senior year of college, he joined a group, acquired extraordinary skills, traveled to Las Vegas 17 times, won hundreds of thousands of dollars counting cards, and lost it all twice. Then he asked if that life experience was brilliant enough to merit a scholarship. Just like Harvard's evaluation system, experience mattered as much as degrees. Ben admitted that he had once been lost in a world of vanity and temptation, forgetting his original purpose. But waking up in time was what truly mattered. From then on, he would no longer be blinded by easy money. The game was finally over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. Bye.